Hi, I'm Heather, and I just kind of felt like telling a story. So I'm drinking some delicious chicken bone broth that I made all by myself a couple of days ago, and I'm so thankful that I did that. And I'm thinking about my day and how fantastically epic it has been. And so I'm trying to think of all the stories I could tell about my day, many of them are quite fascinating, if I don't say so myself. How do I pick which one I want to talk about? And so I am going to pick the one that I think is going to be the most interesting to the most people, but because of the content, not because of who I talk to. But anyway, I'm getting sidetracked. All right. So one of the fabulous humans that I got to speak to today is a author named Greg Bell. And I've known him for a handful of years through my job at the University of Oregon. I met him, and for the past, 6 months or something, I've actually been helping out in his home office. And it's awesome. And if you don't know who Greg Bell is, so he's this amazingly handsome man here, and the book that I have right now, is one of his books called What's Going Well. I think he's probably fairly well known for Water the Bamboo was another one of his books. So What's Going Well is his most recent one, and every time I'm going to his office, I ask myself what's going well, because I know Greg's going to ask me if I run into him. And today I had to pull over for a little while and surrender to being late. Actually, I don't like using late. I say I am on a different timeline than I originally anticipated. I'll fucking get there when I get there. I had to pull over and cry because when I asked myself what's going well, the first thoughts that came into my mind were much less than what feels like it's going well. Very frightening, upsetting, scary, big thoughts and feelings and responses to actual real things that are happening in my life right now that feel challenging and scary and paradigm shifting. And so I pull over and I'm crying and I'm asking myself what's going well, and this voice in my head is saying abso-fucking-lutely nothing, and it's giving me examples of things that are not going well. And then another voice comes into my head and it says, assuming that everything is always in my highest good, which I do personally believe. I believe no matter what the fuck is happening, it is in my highest good as long as I am showing up. As long as I am showing up in the best way I can, everything is exactly as it should be, even the things that feel really fucking hard and shitty and scary. So I start asking myself that question. What could be good about this situation? If I look at it this way, it sounds fucking awful. I'm going to be embarrassed to tell people. My family's going to freak out. These things are scary. On the other hand, actually, it's pretty fucking badass. It's a situation with my daughter, and she is standing up for herself like a boss. She just dyed her hair red because she's a badass, and it's helping her tune in to her badass her fire in herself. And she comes to me and she tells me this thing that she wants to change, that is a radical change from what's been happening. And but it's what's in her highest good. It's different than what everybody else thinks we need to do, but not everybody. I'm taking that back. Anyway, I'm getting off track. What's going well? And then I'm thinking, this isn't going well. And then I realize, no, wait a minute. This is my kid showing up as a badass. That's right. That's what I came to. And so it so turns out that Greg happened to be around today, and so I got a chance to have a nice long talk with him. Normally I might get a couple of minutes, but today I got quite a long chat with him. It was awesome. And of course the question came up, what's going well? And I told him, interesting that you ask. I was asking myself that. I tell him the whole story about the car. I left out the part about me pulling over to cry. I left that part out. Anyway, and I said, but I asked myself the question, how is this good? What good can come of this? Because I know that everything is in my highest good. And he was like, yes, absolutely. And then he took me on this little path. It was so awesome. Okay, so what did he tell me? It was the most important, exciting thing. So he said, and it's actually even on the back of his book, like our natural survival tendency, which I didn't really understand this, but it makes perfect sense. Our natural survival tendency is for our brain to be constantly looking out for saber-toothed tigers in the fucking bushes, right? In reality, there are no more saber-toothed tigers, but our brains are still constantly looking out for all these stimulus, and it jumps to survive. And that's to keep us alive. Thank you, brain. Thank you for doing that for us. We all know that, right? But in order to thrive, of course, we have to turn our attention to what's good in our lives, because we're constantly focused on what's shitty, then that sucks. So we got to focus on what's good in our lives. But see, to build on that, this is the big piece that really blew my mind. He's like, listen, your good memories, when something good happens, something like a good experience, that goes into your short-term memory. A bad experience, something that's really challenging and hard for you, goes into your long-term memory right away. And I was like, hey, that's unfair. And he's like, I know, right? But he's done all the studies. Like, this is all based on science. This is not him pulling this out of his ass. And so do you want to know the trick for how you get those good memories to move from your short-term memory into your long-term memory? I'm like, yes, please. So it's so simple. And I've already been doing it. And so I'm like, yay, I'm already on the path. Is just we have one of those good, either it's a memory or it's an experience that's happening in the moment. It's just really hold that thought in your mind for at least, he said 12 seconds at minimum, but he recommends at least 24 seconds, 30 seconds, whatever. Pick your damn number. It doesn't matter. Just for a little while, hold that in your mind. Feel it as completely as possible. This experience you've had that was really lovely. Just taste it, savor it, feel every piece of it again for at least 30 seconds or however long it feels good. Do it longer if you want. Then it goes in your long-term memory. Oh, and then over time you have all these long-term memories of all this amazing stuff that's happening, instead of it just kind of going in one ear and out the other. And so the other way that, he recommends helping, and of course all of this is in the book, so just get the book and you'll remember all this, but there's much better stuff in there too. There's more. Is to focus in the morning, first thing when you wake up, think about all the lovely things that either are ahead or that happened the day before, and then at bedtime do the same thing. Think about the day, what had happened, what went well, that focus really brings more of that into our attention. And sometimes it's hard to ask what's going well when shit sucks. Like when I gotta pull over and cry, yeah, it's a little harder to ask myself what went well, but I'm really glad that I did it, and I'm really glad I took it to the next step and said, asked myself what could be coming of this. And then I got the next step, this added bonus of this nice long conversation with literally the author of the book. So yeah, that was one of my fabulous stories from the day. And now I'm gonna drink some more bone broth and chill out in this fabulous red chair and knock on my list of things to do. I've got this whole list of fucking things that need to be done. I'll get done what gets done. Yeah. So, that's my day. How was yours? I'd love to hear a good story if you've got one. Love you fiercely.